Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Crying at 11:11. Today, I wanted to talk to you all something very close to my heart, very close to my mind, that I know hits home for a lot of you. And the subject is around limerence. And what is limerence, might you ask? Limerence is essentially, in my own words, the obsession to do with someone that's no longer in your life. It's this energetic attachment to most usually an ex or even an old friend, an old flame that just consumes your being. They're in your mind 24, 25, 8. And a lot of people don't know exactly what the root of limerence is. And it took me a long time to understand it myself until I had an experience not that long ago that allowed me to fully connect to why I could not let this person go. That I had had other experiences of limerence in my life, but this one just got to the bone. And having seen it now from the other side, I feel that I can confidently speak on the experience because of what I went through. So let me share that with you. In the spring of 2025, I had been living in California, and I knew that there was someone that I was meant to meet. I knew that there was someone that I needed to meet, likely a romantic connection, and that it was important for me to meet them at this time in my evolution. Now, I had hoped that this would be someone that I would find a partnership with and that I would be with. And so at that time, I have learned my lesson, but it was necessary for me to be on the apps at that time. And in order for me to be on the apps, it meant that I met this person, that he sent me a message and I saw his face and I realized that's him. This is the person that I was meant to meet. I just knew right away. It was like a soul recognition. It almost felt like I had seen his face in a dream before. Like, that's how visceral it felt. And so he and I, chatted and exchanged information over this app, but I knew that we were going to meet, and I knew that this was going to be something. I even wrote about it in my journal and dated it the night before I met him, that this was the person that I was meant to be meeting. The only thing was, I didn't know why I was meant to be meeting him. I just felt that it was going to be what I hoped it would be, which would be my life partner. Spoiler, it was not that. So we met. We had a great first date. We had a great second date. We had a great third date. We saw each other almost every day for a week. And now this is not typical. Nothing about this relationship felt typical, and I was swept in. I could see myself with him, and I revealed this to him. I didn't hold anything back. And to fast track this story about this person, by the end of about a week, and having spent about 6 days with him on and off, some of that sleeping over, some of that not, I could see the thread starting to come apart on this quilt. I could see where he was not ready for this type of relationship. I could see how he was not the appropriate partner for me. I could see the ways in which he would not be able to show up for me in the ways that I needed and essentially demanded. Not demanding you got to give this to me, but in that if we're going to keep doing this thing, this is what I expect from you. That I expect you to be open and available to this type of connection, to be ready to date me, essentially. Even though we're still getting to know each other, I expect you to be emotionally available. And he was not. And I could then see that even his personality was not appropriate for me, that he would flip things on me, that he was manipulative, that he would gaslight me, he would call me crazy. And there was this part of me that just so desperately wanted him to stay, that so desperately wanted me to make this work with him, that I could feel that soul connection to him, that I knew him from somewhere else. And so I spent, even in that short period, too long with him. I gave him too many chances. And so I made it so that we wouldn't speak for a week while my friends were visiting in town. And then after that week, he texts me right away. And I give him another chance, and we meet up. We meet up again. We have a phone call. And eventually I had to tell him to stop contacting me. And I had to tell him that this was done. And he flipped it on me, and he was angry, and he was saying that I was the one being manipulative and controlling, and he was like, part of it was getting to me. Like, he was making me believe that I was the problem in this situation when I was just with someone that was very good at spinning a story and that ultimately was just not ready for a relationship. He was still tied to his ex. He was having relations with his roommate. Like, it was just a wreck. And I don't even know how I considered it at all. But you can see, just knowing that I was at that point in my patterns where I was willing to overlook this, and I was hiding it from my friends. Like, when you have to hide something from your friends about someone that you're seeing, that is not a good sign. So I ended it, and I asked him not to contact me anymore, and that I was finished, officially finished. But the worst part was that I could not get this goddamn man out of my head. That for months, I could not stop thinking about him. 25/8, he was in my mind from waking up to going to bed. And it was especially hard on me because I was the one that ended it. He didn't want to end the relationship. I didn't want to end the relationship. It was the last thing that I wanted. It was gut-wrenching ending this relationship with this guy that I thought was the one, that I saw myself getting married to. But I had to. I had to because I could see the pattern that I was perpetuating from my ancestors. The pattern that says, I'm not whole without a partner, that I'm not good enough without this person loving me, that I have to do everything in my power to make them stay, that I have to sacrifice my truth, my voice, my heart in order to make this work with this person. That's the pattern that my mother lived out. That's the pattern that my mother's mother lived out. That's the pattern that I'm sure my mother's mother's mother lived out. This matrilineal pattern. And I could feel it. Like, I could feel them in my ear, in my heart saying, when I didn't want to end it, I could hear them saying, you have to end this. That we're not doing this anymore. And I knew it. I knew it in my heart that I could not do this no matter how hard I tried. So you could see that it was difficult because I did it. I did what I felt I needed to do. I took the orders and I ended the relationship. And it was the right choice. It was the right choice to go no contact with him. It was the right choice to be very firm with him. But yeah, here I am. Months after doing that, it was March. Here I am in June, still consumed by the thought of him, still wondering, well, maybe things can work out. When we had broken up, he had said that he needed some time. He needed a year to be single. Like, guys, can you see this now? It's insane. But at the time, I believed it, and I thought, okay, well, by next March or next April, he'll be ready. So it kept me tethered. He had such a good way of keeping me tethered, even months after I broke it off and told him no. So this is the part that gets interesting, where I decided that I had had enough, that I was fed up, that I clearly had nothing to lose, that I was already consumed by him. So this is not the advice that I would give to someone, and this is not what I would do again, because I wouldn't need to do this again. But we understand that we have to go through things, so there's no shame. But I decided at that time that I needed to reopen contact with him. Again, I don't recommend this to people. But at that point in my evolution, that's what I needed. So I texted him 3 and a bit months after I broke up with him. And I asked to get on the phone with him. And he responds right away. And that evening, just a few hours later, we get on the phone. And sure enough, he was so rude. He was so condescending. He was getting high, smoking weed, while we were having the conversation. And at the beginning of this conversation, I confessed my feelings for him. I said I still thought about him all the time. And I asked if he felt the same way. And he said, no, not really. I kind of crashed out and was really upset about it for the first week. And then I just kind of forgot about you. I was like, okay. And let me tell you, this conversation was a couple hours and it was pretty brutal. But by the end of it, I was free. I had no residual feelings for him. And, so disgustingly, he said, well, I've hooked up with a few people. Does that make you jealous? And I said, no, not at all. And I said that with my full heart, my full truth. I felt nothing for this guy. That it's like this curse was lifted. And after that experience, and after like a month or two of just space from it, of reflection, I finally fully concluded why I had limerence for this man, why I was so deeply consumed by him, even though he was the shittiest guy I've ever been with. But what I realized is that he represented my upbringing. He represented the relationship that I had with my parents. That I was enacting the role of my mother, and he was enacting the role of my father. That he was being hot and cold with me. He was being emotionally distant. And I was playing the part of my mother, of doing anything I could to make it work, of driving myself crazy. I have never felt fucking crazier than when I was with this guy. And it was only 8 days that I was seeing him. We weren't even together. And I could see the parallels with my mom, that my mom was driven to the absolute edge. And she played the part of the crazy woman perfectly. And I knew, I could see then, looking back, that the reason why I had limerence, the reason, this is important, that I could not let him go in those months between March and June, before I had that final phone conversation with him where he was awful, before I saw that side of him that I had not seen before, I had limerence. I was obsessed with him because the purpose of that relationship had not been understood by me. I didn't get it. I didn't get why I was supposed to meet him. I wasn't supposed to meet him to meet my husband, because that's not him. So then how could my soul let me let go of him if I hadn't understood the whole reason why we met? And the whole reason why we met was so that the dynamic between my family and the dynamic that my ancestors have played out could be felt within me, that I could choose to play the role, see it, and break it once and for all. So again, I hadn't understood that in the months from when I had ended it to the months where I had had the final phone call and when I saw his true colors. But when I finally did see his true colors, that's when it clicked. And even then, it took a little bit longer, a few more months, to reflect and see that I was reenacting my ancestors' patterns, my parents' patterns, my mother's patterns. And when I finally got it, when I understood the lesson, then the loop closed. The energetic tie that had opened when I had met him was finally finished. The lesson was learned. The lesson was integrated within my being when I finally got it. And I realized, God, it makes so much sense. Of course I couldn't let go of him because I didn't see it. I didn't get it. I didn't get the whole picture. So if I didn't get it with him, if I had forced myself to just move on, or on the other hand, if I had gone back with him and just been a blind, dumb bitch, pardon my French, then I would have had to have just done it again, either with somebody else or continued to do it with him. I would have lived the pattern over and over and over again until I broke it, until I saw what it really was. So in the process of waking up, in the process of seeing what this all was for, in the process of recognizing my ancestral patterns, in the process of then understanding the nudges and the understandings that I got to end it with him, even before I could understand it, before I saw who he really was, then it all made sense. Then it all came full circle. The purpose of the relationship had been then integrated, and therefore the energy, the emotion behind that connection with this guy vanished. It's gone. And that was the only way that I could break the limerence. It wasn't through talk therapy. It wasn't through just forcing myself to not think about him. Because it doesn't matter how many people would say to me, well, just don't think about him. It doesn't matter because I can't stop thinking about him. What am I going to do? I don't want to be thinking about him, but I'm stuck. And that's where so many people hit the same wall, is that none of the advice works because they're not actually getting to the root cause of why they're experiencing the limerence. So my sweet, gorgeous, tiny angels, if you're listening to this, first of all, thank you for being here. I'm just some random guy on the internet. So if you are listening to this point, thank you, and understand that if you are still hung up on somebody, if you have not been able to let them go, no matter how much time has passed, no matter how long the relationship was, no matter if it was official or not official, no matter if they were a husband, a wife, a partner, a lover, a friend, whatever, doesn't matter. If you have not understood the lesson for why they came into your life, if you have not truly understood it and felt it in your being and integrated that lesson, meaning that you're now living as a different version of you who have attained that lesson, then you're going to remain energetically attached to them because your soul is not allowing you to release the connection, because you have not learned from the whole point of having that connection. That you have to understand that in this reality, meeting people, it's no accident that you draw people to you through soul contracts in order to go through experiences that awaken you. So what I would say to this guy who was a complete dick to me, is that I love you. I literally love him. He is such a jerk. I don't ever want to speak to him again. He got under my skin in a way that like no one has able to do in a very long time. But I love his soul. I don't love him. I am not in love with him, but I love his soul because I can see how we contractually agreed to meet each other when we met. For me to fall in love, I basically fell in love with him in 8 days, to fall in love with his characteristics, that he was the perfect setup. He was this guy that I met in LA. He had the perfect eyes and so beautiful, and he had a truck from Texas, and he had all just like the right words that he said and the right energy, but he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. And what he taught me was the art of discernment, was the art of healthy boundaries, the art of seeing through someone's words, to see their energy, to see their intentions. He taught me this. That is how I'm able to speak on this. He taught me to understand what limerence and obsession is really about at the root of it. That it's an unintegration, it's a not knowing the lesson, for lack of better words, of why they came into your life in the first place. That he came into my life for that purpose. He showed me two things, and I'll tell you both things. He showed me an example of what my life could look like, and that was part of my obsession with him. That he was living a life that was true to him, that I was ready to step into. I was ready because he mirrored it back to me. I was ready, but I hadn't yet. I had not been fully in my power, not in my confidence, not in my heart enough to step into the version of myself that I'm living now, that he was living in that moment. And I was inspired by it, and I loved him for that. That he was working as an energy healer. He was doing a career that, maybe he wasn't making a lot of money at it, but he enjoyed it, and it still supported him. He was able to do it. And I was just on the brink of that. So there was a purpose behind that meeting, and there was a purpose behind why you met that person. You just have to find it. And the second part that I know is the reason why I met him is that then he was the worst out of any guy I've ever dated. That I have dated a lot of guys, and a lot of them have been very sweet, and they have all had good intentions. But this guy, I don't believe that to be true. I don't think he had good intentions. I don't think he has a good heart. I think he was very manipulative. I think he was very good at hiding that. I think he was a real charmer, and he knew how to put on a good act. But then he switched, and he was so good at gaslighting me, at turning it around on me, at manipulating me and contorting reality, distorting what was really going on. So because of that, the reason that I met him was because he pushed me into my power. Like I said, he taught me the art of discernment, to read energy and intention behind the words. That he threw me literally into a rage that I have maybe never felt. That he pushed me and connected me back to my anger and my purpose and my true power. And I tell you that after I saw his true colors, after that relationship ended, after the limerence ended, after I saw him for who he really was, something shifted in me, and it altered the course of my life. It switched the timeline that I was on into a different reality for me. And now I sit before you, a different person, a changed person, because of him and that relationship. So again, I never want to speak to him again. I hope I never see him again. I have him blocked. But at the same time, I love him. I love his soul for what we agreed to do here and for what he gave me, because he changed the course of my life. Except I had to be the one to come to these conclusions myself, and I had to come to these conclusions through a very painful experience that it took me half a year to finally come to this realization from when I first met him. It was very traumatic. It was very uncomfortable. It was very confronting. It was very confusing. But I came out of it all the more wiser. I came out of it stronger. I came out of it more discerning. I came out of it better boundaries. I came out of it more joyful, happier, that he gave me a gift. And so that is part of the reason, again, that limerence was gone, because I concluded the chapter of meeting this guy. I got exactly what I needed to. I woke up to what it was showing me, that I so hoped that he would be my person, that we would get married. And I saw it. It felt so real. But at the same time, I was not allowed to see the truth of who he was at the very beginning, because then I wouldn't have been able to go through the entire experience to get to where I am now. Do you see what I'm saying? That we have to go through the experience in order to gain the wisdom and the clarity. That words don't teach, that I am offering you words that are awakening something within you, that are helping you to remember something, that are maybe teaching you something. But ultimately, you have to be going through the experience yourself. That is part of the school of life. And that is why we can't say things like, well, I should have known. Well, you didn't know. You didn't know. And that's all you can say. That's the end of the story. You didn't know, and that's okay. You had to go through the experience, and now you know. Now you know better, but you had to experience it first, just like I did. I'm not exactly proud that I had to break contact with someone that I set the no contact with, that I knew he was bad for me. I didn't fully know why, but I knew. I don't love that I had to break no contact with him, because that's not what I would preach for somebody else, but I had to do it. I didn't know at the time, and I clearly needed to know. I needed that conversation with him to see who he truly was. So I'll say it again. It's okay that you went through an experience, even if you think that you did the wrong thing. It's okay to wish that things could have gone differently. It's okay to ask, well, why the hell did that have to be so painful? Well, my sweet angel, sometimes it has to really hurt in order for it to wake us up. That for myself, I can see crystal clear that he needed to be brutal with me. He needed to be so rude to me and disgusting to me in that last conversation for me to finally get it. Like, I was so delusional and head over heels for this guy's that up until that point, it's like he could do no wrong. I mean, yes, I ended it with him. Yes, I went no contact with him. But the way that I was so delusional in my thinking that he would come back around and everything would be so different, it's like I was forgetting all of my own progress that I had made with all my other previous relationships. It's like my standards went out the window. I mean, I'll give myself some credit. I had enough standard to end it. Okay, I had enough standards to have never had any intimacy with him. I didn't allow that because I knew that he wanted my body. How could he not? But that I knew that that was going to be the worst thing for me, because that was going to accelerate the development of my feelings for him. And I knew that in my heart, in my intuition, I knew that it wouldn't for him, but that he was just getting what he wanted. So I never gave him that, and I'm so glad that I didn't. I'm so glad that I trusted my gut, even after he persisted over and over and over again that he wanted to have sex, and I never let us. I wanted to as well, don't get me wrong. He was very sexy, but I didn't allow it. So I give myself credit for that. But again, let me say it one more time, crystal clear. It's okay that you had to go through the experience. It's okay that it had to hurt that badly, because it probably needed to go that way in order for you to truly get it like it did for me. He had to be the biggest jerk for me to finally get it. And that has happened to me over and over and over again. And thank God it didn't go on for more than 8 days. Thank God I didn't have sex with him. Thank God I pulled the brakes as soon as I saw the red flags getting really clear. And I'm thanking myself for that over and over and over again. But clearly I still didn't see it fully at that point. I still was delusional in my thinking. I was still running the programming from my ancestors, and that's okay. But I had the experience. I integrated the learning, I closed the loop, and it will not happen again. So my gorgeous angels, let this be your lesson and understanding. Learn from me and what I had to go through, that limerence is merely just a signal that you have not yet learned and integrated the lesson that must be learned in order for you to close the loop. That there is a pattern that's taking place here that you need to recognize, that you need to see this person and the people in your external reality as your mirror for you, that they are showing you something about yourself. People treat you in the ways that you will allow, in the ways that you treat yourself. If you have been seeing that you get abandoned over and over again, or that if people speak poorly to you, if they pick you last, then in what ways do you abandon yourself? Do you abandon your own needs? In what ways do you speak poorly about yourself? This is not to blame you. This is not to gaslight, but it is to help you pull your power back and see the ways in which you feed into the response of the reality based on who you are being, based on the things that you believe about yourself. So just remember that limerence is an obsession with somebody, with a situation, and there is a reason why you cannot let it go. So find the lesson, open your eyes, open your heart, open your intuition, and read through to the energy. Look beyond the words of what these people have said. Look beyond your own hopes, look beyond your own delusions, and see people for all that they are. Read their actions, read their energy. Find the truth in what is trying to be shown to you. Learn the lesson, integrate the learning, and live from a place of having attained whatever it is that you needed to attain from that lesson, and move forward, baby girl or baby boy, whoever. You fucking got this. I love you, and if you've gotten to this part of the video, wow, thank you so much. And until next time, bye.